Welcome back to Starz Recap, the place where we break down your favorite movies in minutes. Today, we're diving into the chilling 2025 thriller Your Host, a film that takes the simple idea of renting a homestay and turns it into a nightmare you'll wish you never checked into. Our story begins with a young couple searching for a peaceful weekend getaway. The house looks perfect, cozy rooms, stunning views, and a host who seems just a little too friendly. But as night falls, strange noises echo through the halls, hidden cameras come to life, and the couple slowly realizes their host isn't who he claims to be. Secrets, lies, and a deadly game of cat and mouse. This movie will make you think twice before booking your next vacation stay. So grab your popcorn, hit that like button, and let's jump straight into Your Host 2025, a story where hospitality turns horrifying. The film opens inside a dim, unsettling room where a lone camera is quietly recording everything. We see Jay, terrified and wounded, sitting with a heavy metal collar locked around his neck. A distorted voice, the so-called host, echoes through the darkness, praising him for making it this far. Jay believes he's finally earned his freedom, but the voice quickly crushes that hope. There's one final challenge. 3 sealed boxes slide into view, and Jay is ordered to choose. With trembling hands, he tugs the cord on one of them. The lid pops open. Inside is a shotgun. Before Jay can react, the host pulls his own cord, triggering a mechanical toy that squeezes the shotgun's trigger. A single blast ends the game, and Jay's life. Cut to a new scene. 4 friends heading to a remote lakeside house owned by James's late uncle, a man who tragically took his life after losing everything due to his wife's disastrous financial decisions. The group is there to celebrate Anita's birthday, enjoying the sunshine, drinks, and laughter, completely unaware of the nightmare waiting ahead. That night, while everyone is relaxing after dinner, James suggests they spice things up with a round of truth or dare. Right away, Anita senses something off in his attitude and decides to pass. Melissa, trying to keep the mood light, takes a dare instead. James immediately pushes things too far, telling her to kiss Anita. Melissa refuses. She's not here to be objectified for his entertainment. But James insists, reminding everyone that they're staying in his vacation home. To diffuse the tension, Anita says she's fine with it, and the two share a quick, harmless kiss. But James doesn't stop there. He leans in to kiss Melissa himself, and she instantly shoves him back. Embarrassed and irritated, James accuses the group of ruining the fun. Before the argument can escalate, a strange sound echoes from outside. Matthew tries to brush it off, but the noise comes again, louder. Everyone's eyes drift toward the back door as the atmosphere turns uneasy. Suddenly, James jumps out from the darkness, laughing. It was just another one of his pranks. Anita, fed up, says they should call the police if someone is really outside. James responds by grabbing a fireplace poker and storming out to prove nothing is wrong. The others decide to mess with him this time, shutting off the lights and leaving him fumbling with his phone's flashlight. Melissa slips out and delivers a scream just to spook him, but the joke soon stops being funny. Hidden in the bushes, James discovers a small camera with a tape inside. Disturbed, he takes it back into the house. Anita immediately warns him not to watch it, and Matthew backs her up. James argues it's his property, his call. That's when Anita snaps, telling him bluntly that nobody actually likes him, and they only tolerate him because of his money. She grabs the tape and smashes it. James explodes with anger, shouting at everyone to get out and even making cruel jabs about Anita's sick mother. Shocked by how vicious he gets, the group decides they'll just sleep in separate rooms and deal with things in the morning. Hours later, while the house is quiet, a dark silhouette slips inside unnoticed. James is alone in the shower when the bathroom door slowly creaks open. Grabbing a razor, he prepares for a fight, but it's just Melissa pulling another prank. She mocks him. He tries to impress her by dropping his towel, and she bursts out laughing. Downstairs, Matthew is tidying up the living room, unaware of the shadowy figure drifting past the doorway. He notices the red recording light glowing on the camera they found earlier, but when he turns around, the shadow is nowhere to be seen. After taking the trash outside, Matthew heads back upstairs, only to find Anita lying on the floor, completely unresponsive. Panic hits him instantly. He rushes to check Melissa, and she's unconscious too. Heart racing, he calls out for James, but before he can make another move, a masked stranger appears from the shadows and jabs a syringe into Matthew's neck. Matthew stumbles away, desperate to find help, but his legs give out as he makes it outside. Everything fades to black. When consciousness finally returns, all 4 friends wake up chained against a wall. a camera pointed at them like they're part of some horrific broadcast. Across the room, their kidnapper casually whistles while rearranging props, then disappears without saying a word. James tries to yank his chain loose, but nothing budges. Hidden somewhere nearby, the masked figure watches them through a wall of security monitors, clearly entertained by their fear. Soon, he steps back into the room, no longer hiding his identity. It's Barry, the so-called host of this sick show. With the press of a button, he tightens their restraints, then starts a dramatic countdown. Suddenly, bright stage lights flick on, revealing rows of mannequins arranged like a cheering audience. Fake applause blasts through speakers as Barry introduces the 4 captives, even dropping personal details about their lives that he should never know. Then he announces their first challenge: rock, paper, scissors. But the group is too terrified and confused to respond. Annoyed, Barry abruptly declares a commercial break and rushes off to his dressing room. While rummaging for a pair of shears, he accidentally slices his hand open. Back in the holding room, James tries to convince everyone this is just some twisted reality show or elaborate prank. Anita shuts that theory down immediately. No show would drag them into a basement, and chain them to a wall. She accuses James of being the only one wealthy enough to orchestrate something this elaborate. Barry reappears, hand bandaged and shears in hand, ready to continue. He forces another round of rock, paper, scissors. It turns into a chaotic mess, so he decides the women will go first. Stepping up to Anita, he promises a prize if she wins. Anita throws paper, but Barry makes a gun shape with his fingers and shouts "shoot" before laughing at his own joke. He tells her to pick again, scissors or shoot. Remembering that Melissa chose paper earlier, Anita picks shoot, hoping it gives her some kind of advantage. Barry flips over a card and, without hesitation, drags it across Anita's cheeks, cutting the corners of her mouth. The room fills with screams. Next, he turns to Matthew, reminding him he chose rock in the game, then slams an actual stone into Matthew's head. Then comes James. Barry lifts the shears and slices off one of his fingers as James howls in agony. Finally, Barry levels a gun at Anita. He pulls the trigger, but instead of bullets, only a tiny flame sparks out. Enraged by the misfire, he yanks her chain so hard that her head slams against the wall, knocking her out cold. Hours pass before Anita regains consciousness. The group immediately erupts into chaos, with James screaming, blaming everyone but himself. Their argument is cut short when Barry walks in again, this time revealing a massive spinning wheel of pain mounted on the wall. The friends beg for mercy, and Barry proposes a sick twist, a bonus round. If each of them confesses the worst, darkest thing they've ever done, they might earn freedom, or Barry might kill them anyway. He begins with James. James refuses, so Barry drives a cane straight into his groin. Writhing on the floor, James finally cracks. He admits he once caused a car accident and let his father take the blame. Worse, the victim died because James fled and never called for help. Barry forces him to say the victim's name, Ashley. Then Barry presses the cane against Anita's throat. She confesses that she once opened an adult website to raise money for her mother's medical bills, something she's ashamed of, even though she did it out of desperation. Next is Matthew. He reveals he's a full-time online scammer. He knows almost everything his friends have ever done online. He even scammed an elderly couple for their personal information, only to accidentally lose all the stolen money during a blockchain transfer. Finally, Melissa takes a shaky breath and admits her secret. The animal shelter she worked for went broke, so she sold several pit bulls to a dogfighting ring. She tells herself they would have been euthanized anyway, but the guilt still haunts her. Barry forces Melissa to step up first and gives the wheel a spin. It lands on a challenge that hands her an old-fashioned viewfinder. Her task is simple, or so it seems. Identify 3 famous cities from the photos inside. If she gets all 3 right, she survives the round. She clicks the first slide, Paris, and answers correctly. Immediately, a sharp metal needle beside her begins inching forward. She goes to the next image, New York, gets it right again, and the needle creeps even closer. But the third picture throws her off. She guesses wrong. Barry cheerfully announces that punishment time has arrived. The others beg him to give her one more try. Surprisingly, Barry agrees. Melissa lifts the viewfinder and presses the button again, but the moment she does, the needle shoots forward and pierces her eye. She screams and the room erupts into chaos. Now terrified, the others refuse to spin the wheel. Barry shrugs and spins it for James, landing on Barry's personal favorite challenge. He picks up a power drill and excitedly explains how he's supposed to chase James around the room with it. But then he changes his mind. "You talk too much," he says. He flips a coin, and somehow James wins the toss, so Barry turns to Anita instead. He shoves the drill into her hands and orders her to drill into Matthew's ear. If she refuses, Barry says he'll use the drill on Melissa and James instead. A countdown begins. With no time and no choice, Anita cries as she presses the drill to Matthew's ear. His screams echo through the room as the drill tears into him. She finally drops the tool, and it breaks on impact. Barry snaps. He yells at Anita for breaking the rules, rips the tape out of the recording camera again, and storms back to his dressing room. There, he sticks a label with Matthew's name onto the tape and adds it to a huge pile of similar tapes, clearly trophies from past victims. When he returns, he announces a special round. A screen lights up with the words "wild card." Barry explains, one question. Everyone gives an answer. Highest score wins. He says he surveyed 100 people with one simple question. Which body part aches the most? Matthew answers head. Melissa, still in pain, says knees. Anita chooses stomach. James tries to lunge forward to attack Barry, but his chain yanks him back and he faceplants on the floor. Barry loses his temper and blurts out his own answer. Neck! Because all of you are a pain in mine. Barry pulls out a stack of slips, each one showing the survey results for the wild card question. He reads them aloud. Number 1, head. Number 2, muscles, neck. Number 4, feet. Matthew points out the obvious. Those answers don't add up to a full score. Barry digs around in the stack and finds one final slip, stomach, which ranks higher than muscles. That means Melissa already lost the round the moment she answered. Barry retracts the chains holding them, then turns to a massive hydraulic press positioned above Melissa. With a dramatic flourish, he powers it on. The metal ram lowers until it taps the top of her head. Then Barry pauses, smiling. He announces yet another bonus round. If anyone wants to take Melissa's place, they can step in now. No one does. The room fills with Melissa's pleas, begging for her life, but Barry simply restarts the machine. The press comes down again, and this time it crushes her skull. Barry calmly collects the camera tape and returns to unchain Melissa's lifeless body. The lights flicker as he drags her across the floor, leaving a long smear of blood behind him. He's laughing the entire time. Back in his dressing room, Barry removes his mask and starts cutting the corners of his own mouth, just like he did to Melissa. His face is covered in old scars. Clear proof this isn't his first time performing these rituals. Meanwhile, James is still yanking on his chain. He hears something moving in the shadows but can't figure out what it is. Barry soon returns, rolling in a TV. He presses play. On the screen is Rebecca, tied to a chair and being tortured just like they are now. Barry sits directly in front of Anita, removes his mask and stares at her. She whispers an apology, and he silently pulls the mask back on. The video continues, showing Barry finishing Rebecca off with a chainsaw. As soon as Barry steps out of the room, James speaks up. He swears he's seen that man somewhere before. Meanwhile, Anita suddenly realizes that Matthew must know the truth about her past, especially the lie she told about the adult website. Matthew admits he knows, and then drops a bombshell. Anita once worked on the Barry Miller show. James explodes, accusing her of hiding everything and demanding answers. With no way out, Anita finally explains the truth. Years ago, Barry Miller wasn't a masked killer. He was a well-known game show host. Anita was part of the production crew. One day, the team gathered around a TV as breaking news aired. Barry had been cleared of several abuse allegations because all the victims suddenly withdrew their statements. Rebecca, another crew member, was furious. Anita, however, wondered if maybe Barry really was innocent. Then James pointed out something suspicious. One of the supposed victims had just bought a new car. Maybe they all got paid to stay quiet. Rebecca argued that TV networks were known for quietly firing older problem personalities to protect their brand, and Barry already had a terrible reputation behind the scenes. She pushed further, saying that if someone caught him doing something illegal, the payout from the network would be huge, enough to cover Anita's mother's medical bills. At that moment, Anita claimed Barry had once touched her inappropriately, and because she refused him, she was never promoted. James immediately accused her of making it up. Before the argument could escalate, Barry himself walked into the room, carrying a birthday cake for Anita. The whole crew awkwardly sang as he placed his hands on her shoulders. Rebecca snapped. She yelled at him to stop touching women, creating a painfully tense and embarrassing moment on set. Later on, Rebecca and Jake finally managed to convince Anita to report everything to HR. The moment she does, the company tries to shut the whole situation down fast. They offer her a huge payout, but only if she signs an NDA and quietly disappears from the workplace. Jumping back to the present torture room, Barry walks in again. James immediately panics, begging Barry to spare him and blaming everything on Anita. Desperate, James even offers Barry his family's wealth and connections, promising he can help revive Barry's ruined career. Barry plays along for a moment, pretending to be excited about getting his life back. Then, without warning, he switches tones and tells James he'll send his severed head to his father instead. Barry then shocks everyone by revealing the decapitated head of the company's lawyer and forces Anita to eat the man's tongue. Meanwhile, James keeps yanking on his chain until it finally snaps loose. He lunges at Barry, knocking him over and wrapping the chain around his neck. But Barry quickly reaches a hidden button, activating electric shocks built into the chains. All three captives collapse unconscious. When the men wake up, they find themselves strapped to operating tables, each with fresh surgical stitches across their abdomen. Barry announces the next twisted challenge, Incision Decision. He tosses a knife toward Anita and rushes back to his dressing area. Through the speakers, Barry explains the rules. 2 keys have been stitched inside James's and Matthew's bodies. Only 1 key is needed to open the exit, but someone has to cut them open to retrieve it. Anita refuses at first, horrified, but Barry warns that if she doesn't play, he'll let them all rot in that room. Cornered, James starts bribing her, promising money if she chooses him over Matthew. Anita approaches Matthew as if she's chosen him, but at the last moment she turns and slices open James instead. He screams and thrashes as she digs into the wound, eventually pulling the key from inside him. James dies moments after. Anita sprints to the door and tries to unlock it, but it doesn't budge. Barry's voice echoes through the speakers, laughing as he reveals that the door is sealed with magnets and can't be opened. He declares that the round is over, last person alive wins, and releases Matthew from the table. Matthew slowly reaches for the knife, but before doing anything, he tells Anita the harsh truth. Only one person is walking out of this nightmare. He gently kisses her on the cheek, tells her he loves her, and makes her promise that she'll be the one to survive. Then, without hesitation, he turns the blade on himself. Through the speakers, Barry cheerfully congratulates Anita for winning, right before flooding the room with knockout gas. When Anita wakes up, the bodies are gone and the exit is unlocked. She stumbles into the dressing area, where she finds shelves full of tapes documenting every victim Barry has ever tormented. She pockets his keycard before heading to the bathroom to scrub the dried blood off her body. Exploring further, she discovers a tiny bedroom, covered in disturbing drawings and a photo of Barry with his wife looking like a completely different man. Eventually, Anita reaches another room where Barry is waiting. He tells her it's time for one final game. Still trembling, she sits in front of 3 boxes and jumps when Barry triggers a confetti popper. Confused, Anita asks if this goofy behavior is all he really is. Barry calmly replies that Barry is dead because she killed the man he once was. She offers to publicly say she lied about everything, hoping to defuse him, but he doesn't respond. His blank expression makes her wonder whether he actually did something horrible. That snaps Barry. He suddenly erupts, ranting about her choices and the chaos she caused. Then he demands she pick one of the 3 boxes. If she refuses, he threatens to murder her mother. Cornered, Anita yanks a string, revealing a cake. Barry immediately launches into an unsettling version of the Happy Birthday song. But before he can finish, Anita pulls out the stolen card and slashes him across the face, sprinting for the exit. She almost makes it outside, but Barry activates the taser system again, dropping her to the ground. As he drags her back inside with the chain, he explains the meaning of his scars. Each one marks a person he's killed. Now that she cut him, she has symbolically added her own tally to his collection. Barry shoves her face down into the birthday cake and holds her there for several seconds. She expects a trap, but nothing happens. No blades, no explosives, just frosting. Finally, Barry lets go and steps back, telling her she can leave and that the cake tastes awful anyway. All at once, Anita's expression twists in agony. Her skin begins to scorch, her eyes go blood red, and she screams that she can't see. She stumbles blindly down the hallway, trying to escape, but her legs give out. She collapses, writhing on the floor as the burning overtakes her, until her body finally goes still. Barry calmly sits beside her lifeless body, humming the cheerful theme song from his old game show straight into the camera, as if nothing horrifying just happened. Another tape begins playing, revealing what really happened in the past. It shows Barry tormenting the talk show host who once ruined his reputation. Under the pressure, the man finally confesses that he did assault those women and that the network paid everyone off to protect him. The moment he finishes his confession, Barry brings a hammer down on his skull, ending him instantly. And that brings us to the chilling end of this twisted nightmare. Anita fought through every trap, every lie, and every betrayal, only to discover that in Barry's world, there were never any winners, only survivors who didn't make it to the credits. As the camera fades on Barry humming his show's theme over Anita's lifeless body, one thing becomes clear: this was never a game. It was his revenge. The police may never uncover what happened in that secluded torture studio, and Barry, scarred, unhinged, and fueled by delusion, walks away ready to find his next contestant. And with that, the movie closes its curtain, leaving viewers with one haunting reminder: some hosts never let their shows end.